Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Easy English Spark Channel. I'm so excited you're here today. In this series, we'll use a 10-chapter storytelling journey, from endless gray in the city to home reimagined in the wild, to boost your English listening and speaking skills, build confidence, and help you speak more fluently than ever before. We'll dive into each chapter's vivid scenes and simple dialogue, so you can practice understanding natural English and responding with ease. Ready to spark your English journey? Let's get started. Chapter 1: Endless Gray. I wake before dawn each morning to the same dull alarm. The city lights outside my window glow through the curtains, orange and harsh against the dark sky. My name is Ethan Cole, and this is my life in Crestmont City. I slip out of bed quietly, not to wake my wife, Harper, or our children, Aiden and Zoe. But even in the silence, I hear the city's heartbeat, cars rumbling, horns honking, the distant wail of sirens. I cross the small living room where Harper sits at the kitchen table, her laptop open. She rubs her tired eyes and offers me a weak smile. "Good morning," I whisper. She nods and turns back to her work. She teaches late-night online classes, and her students often need extra help. I can see the fatigue in her shoulders. By 6:30, the children are up. Aiden, 12, shuffles into the kitchen in his pajamas. Zoe, 8, follows, her hair sticking up in all directions. They ask for cereal, and I pour it into 2 bowls. They eat quickly, not talking much, because they worry about being late for the school bus. Every day feels rushed. Out the door, 1 shoe on, 1 shoe off, backpacks swinging. They hurry to the corner where the yellow bus waits. I stand in the doorway and watch them go. Aiden waves without looking back. Zoe blows me a kiss too fast for me to catch. The bus pulls away, its brake lights blinking red in the gray morning. I close the door and turn back inside. The apartment is small. 2 bedrooms, a narrow hallway, a living room with a worn sofa. The walls are painted a pale gray, and the floors are scuffed from years of foot traffic. I look around and feel a familiar ache, a longing for something. More at 7 now, I drive to my office downtown. The streets are already clogged with traffic. Cars inch forward bumper to bumper. Motorcycles weave between lanes. Pedestrians press against crosswalk buttons, waiting for a chance to dart across. The air smells of exhaust and coffee. Every day, I make the same turn, park in the same spot, and take the same elevator to the 12th floor. My office is glass-walled, overlooking the endless rows of buildings that stretch to the horizon. Inside, I sit at my desk piled high with reports and emails. My computer chirps with new messages. I open a spreadsheet, I scan for errors. I send another email. I stand, stretch, and glance out the window. The city pulses with movement, but I feel frozen in place. By noon, I take my lunch at my desk. A sandwich eaten in 3 bites, a bottle of water. I open my phone and scroll through pictures of mountains and forests, places I've never seen in person. My heart tightens with envy. At 5, I shut down my computer. I feel a wave of relief, mixed with a faint guilt. Relief to leave work, guilt that I'm not doing more. I drive home through the same grid of streets. I wish the buildings would change, the lights would dim, and the air would taste different. When I get back, Harper is already preparing dinner. She hums softly as she chops vegetables. "How was your day?" she asks without looking up. I shrug. "The same." She hands me a plate of pasta and broccoli. We sit at the table in silence. Our conversation feels like a routine. Here are the facts of my day. Here are the facts of hers. After dinner, Aiden and Zoe appear at the table with homework spread out. Math problems and spelling words. Harper helps Zoe with reading. I help Aiden with fractions. We correct mistakes and encourage them to work faster. We tuck them into bed by 8:30, reminding them to brush their teeth and pack their school bags. Each night I kiss them goodnight and close their door softly. Once they are asleep, Harper and I sit on the couch. We watch the news on TV. Stories of car crashes, new high-rise towers, and yet another sports score. Harper rests her head on my shoulder. We hold hands, but our thoughts drift apart. We've built a life here. We have jobs, friends, and enough money to pay the bills. Yet deep inside, we feel empty, like actors repeating the same scene over and over. I look at Harper and know she feels it too. The gray walls, the constant noise, the endless routine. None of it offers a chance to breathe. I swallow. I want to say something. I want to break this pattern, but the words get stuck. Finally, I whisper, "Harper, do you ever feel like we're just living someone else's life?" She sighs and looks up at me. Her eyes shine with unshed tears. "Every single day," she admits. In that moment, I realize we need a change. We need more than this endless gray. We need a spark, a moment of color, a breath of fresh air. I don't have a plan yet, but I know one thing. Tomorrow, I will speak up. Tomorrow, I will say we need to go somewhere far from Crestmont City, somewhere that feels alive. And just like that, I feel something stir inside me. A quiet hope that maybe, just maybe, we can find a new path beyond these gray walls. Chapter 2. Cracks in the Façade. The next evening, I sit at the small dining table long after the dishes have been cleared. A single lamp casts a warm pool of light on the tabletop, but the rest of our apartment remains dim and shadowed. I trace the grain of the wooden surface with my fingertip, listening to the hum of the refrigerator and the distant rumble of traffic below. Harper has just finished tidying the kitchen. She hangs her apron on the hook and joins me at the table, carrying 2 mugs of chamomile tea. "Thank you," I say, reaching for one. The tea is fragrant and soothing, the steam curling between us. We both take a slow sip. Outside, the city lights blink like restless fireflies, but here everything feels still, almost too still. Harper studies me quietly for a moment. "You look thoughtful," she says softly. I give a small shrug. "I've been thinking about today. And yesterday." I pause, struggling to find the right words. It all feels the same, doesn't it? Every day, the same routine. She nods, her eyes reflecting the lamp's glow. "I know. I feel it too." Her voice is gentle, but there is an edge of sadness underneath. Some days I wake up and wonder if this is really the life we imagined. I lean back in my chair, feeling the weight of her words. The emptiness I felt last night is still there, but now it's shared. It no longer belongs only to me. It belongs to both of us. And I realize to Aiden and Zoe as well. I miss the days when we could just disappear for an afternoon, I say. When I was a kid, my family would drive to Lake Harrow and spend the weekend fishing. No schedule, no alarms, just sun and water. Harper's lips curve into a sad smile. "I remember those stories," she says. "You told me about them when we first met. I used to picture you standing on a wooden pier with a fishing rod and a big grin." I chuckle softly. I was a terrible fisherman, but I loved the quiet. I loved knowing there was nothing else to do but watch the water. We lapse into silence, each of us lost in our own memories. Then Harper sets her mug down and leans forward, resting her elbows on the table. "Ethan," she says, "what if we did something different? What if we broke this pattern ourselves?" Her voice trembles slightly, as if she's afraid to admit the idea out loud. My heart skips. Part of me wants to dismiss the thought. Too risky, too expensive, too complicated. But another part, the part that has been longing for change, stirs awake. "What are you thinking?" I ask, voice low. She smiles, the first genuine smile I've seen in weeks. "What if we took a trip? Not a quick weekend getaway, but a proper break. A week or 2 maybe. somewhere with trees and fresh air. She pauses, letting the words sink in. Somewhere we can remember who we are before work and school and deadlines took over. I close my eyes and imagine it. Mist rising off a lake at dawn, the sound of birdsong echoing through the pines, the cool breeze brushing my face. I can almost taste the wood smoke and hear the crackle of a campfire. My chest tightens with longing. That sounds perfect, I whisper. But can we even do it? Time off work, school schedules. My words trail off as I realize I'm making excuses. Harper reaches across the table and takes my hand. Her skin is warm against mine. We can figure it out, she says firmly. I can shift my class schedule for a week. You can ask your manager for a short leave. We'll talk to the kids' teachers. It may not be easy, but it's possible. If we decide it's worth it. Her confidence gives me strength. I squeeze her hand and nod. You're right. It is worth it. The worry that had knotted my stomach begins to loosen, replaced by a spark of hope. Harper lets go of my hand and stands up. She paces the small space between the table and the sofa, thoughts racing out loud. We could go to Pine Ridge Forest. It's only a 4-hour drive. They have cabins near the lake and hiking trails. Or we could rent a small camper and stay off-grid. Imagine no cell service, no email, no meeting reminders. I watch her, heart swelling. Her eyes shine with excitement, and I realize I've never seen her so alive. I like the idea of the camper, I say. Waking up in a new place every morning, cooking breakfast by the window, exploring at our own pace. She stops pacing and looks at me, her face alight. Exactly. And the kids would love it. They've been asking for an adventure. She crosses to the window and pulls back the curtain. The city stretches before us, cold and lifeless in comparison to the world she's describing. We deserve this, she says, more to herself than to me. I join her at the window and rest, my forehead against the glass. The reflections of streetlights shimmer, but my focus is on the possibilities beyond. Let's do it, I say. Let's plan it right now. Harper turns and throws her arms around me. I hold her tight, inhaling the scent of chamomile still on her breath. In that embrace, I feel the first fissures appear in the gray walls we've built around our lives. The facade is cracking, and light is seeping through. Later that night, I lie awake thinking of maps and routes, of packing lists and campfire recipes. Harper sleeps beside me, her breathing steady and peaceful. Without realizing it, I smile. Tomorrow, we will begin planning our escape. Tomorrow, the cracks will widen and our new story will start to unfold. Chapter 3. The proposition. The morning light filters weakly through the curtains, and I roll over to see Harper already awake, her phone in hand as she scrolls through travel sites. I stretch and sit up, glancing around our quiet bedroom. Yesterday's conversation still hums in my mind. We're going to do this. Really make a break from our routine. I slip out of bed and pour 2 cups of strong coffee. When I return, Harper has narrowed down 2 options: a lakeside cabin at Pine Ridge Forest or a small camper van that sleeps 4, parked at various backcountry sites. She taps the cabin listing first. A rustic A-frame with a stone fireplace, a private dock, and no Wi-Fi. Then she swipes to the camper, a converted Sprinter van with a kitchenette, fold-out bed, and solar panels. Aiden and Zoe would love the novelty of sleeping on wheels. I lean toward the camper for flexibility, but the cabin's comfort is tempting. Morning, I say, setting the coffee on the nightstand. Harper looks up, her eyes bright. I was just reading reviews. Families love the cabin for its cozy feel, but the camper has the freedom to roam. What do you think? I take a sip of coffee and mull it over. The camper would let us wake up somewhere different each day, by the lake, in a meadow, even beside a waterfall if we wanted. But the cabin feels safe. A base camp where we don't have to set up daily. Harper nods, swirling her coffee. True, but part of why we're doing this is to try something we've never done. Remember how the kids begged to camp when we were at the park last month? Zoe kept asking if we could stay overnight. I grin, picturing Zoe's excited face. She did. And Aiden was fascinated by the idea of cooking marshmallows over a fire. All right, camper it is. Let's book it. Harper taps the booking button and a confirmation pops up within seconds. Reserved for 5 nights, she announces. Pick up Monday morning in Crestmont. They'll give us a quick orientation on how to use the stove and solar hookup. I lean back and let out a contented sigh. Perfect. Now we need to tell the kids, gently, but with some drama. I imagine their faces when we break the news. Bye. 7:30. Both children are at the breakfast table, half awake and still in pajamas. I place a stack of pancakes in front of Zoe and Aiden, then clear my throat. Hey, you two, can we talk for a minute before you head out? They look up, curious. Zoe forks a bite of pancake before swallowing. What's up, Dad? Harper leans forward, eyes twinkling. We have a surprise for you. Aiden pushes his glasses up the bridge of his nose. A new video game? He guesses, eyebrows raised. I shake my head, unable to keep a straight face. Not exactly. I exchange a glance with Harper. She reaches into her bag and pulls out 2 small postcards. One shows a pine forest reflected on a lake. The other shows a camper van parked in a meadow. "We're going on an adventure," she says. Zoe drops her fork. "Adventure?" Harper passes her the postcard. "We're renting a camper van and we'll drive to Pine Ridge Forest next week. We'll sleep in the van, cook our own meals, and explore hiking trails. No school bus, no work, just us." For a moment, the room is silent except for the soft hum of the refrigerator. Then Zoe's eyes light up. "We get to stay in a van? Like real camping?" Aiden jumps out of his chair. "Seriously? Can I bring my sketch pad? And Dad, can we fish at the lake?" Harper and I laugh. "Yes," we say in unison. "Pack your sketch pad, bring your fishing pole, and don't forget the marshmallows." They leap around the table, giggling and talking over each other. Zoe planning to bring her storybook. Aiden already imagining the sunrise over still water. Harper shoots me a triumphant look. The surprise is a hit. By 8:15, the kids are off to school, backpacks bouncing as they race down the hallway. Harper and I clean up the dishes together, energized by their excitement. "I can't believe how fast they took that," I say, rinsing a plate. "I expected some hesitation," Harper admits. "But it seems they're as ready as we are." We spend the rest of the morning making lists: clothing, food, camping gear, first aid supplies. I volunteer to handle the cooler and cooking equipment. Harper takes care of booking the gas refill and mapping our route. We carve out time to call both our workplaces. Harper confirms her classes are covered, and I arrange to take Monday through Friday off. That afternoon, I stand in our living room holding a stack of maps, road atlas spread out at my feet. Harper peeks over my shoulder. "What's the plan for day 1? I trace a finger along the highway. "We'll leave Crestmont early, stop at Pine Ridge Visitor Center, pick up a permit, then find our first campsite by noon. We can hike the east, loop trail in the afternoon, and return to set up camp at Sunrise Lake." Harper nods approvingly. "Sounds good. We should pick up groceries on the way. Fresh bread, eggs, coffee, and plenty of snacks." I laugh. "Especially snacks. Granola bars, trail mix, chocolate. This trip is partly about eating outside our usual routine." She smiles and bumps my shoulder. "It's going to be amazing." That evening, I lie in bed replaying the day's events in my mind. We've made concrete plans, booked the camper, and inspired our children's enthusiasm. The apartment feels different now, charged with anticipation instead of the usual dull routine. Tomorrow, I'll finalize the packing list, charge the camera batteries, and check the camper's manual again. But for tonight, I'm content to drift to sleep, confident that the hardest step, the proposition, has already been taken. Our journey has truly begun. Chapter 4. Preparations at Dawn. I wake before the sun peeks over the rooftops, my alarm buzzing softly at 4:45 a.m. The apartment is quiet, too quiet. I slip out of bed and tiptoe down the hall to the living room, where the camper's key fob and our packing list sit on the coffee table. I switch on a single lamp and unfold the list. Clothing, warm layers, rain jackets, extra socks, cooking gear, portable stove, fuel canister, lighter bedding, sleeping bags, pillows, extra blankets, food, eggs, bread, fruit, granola bars, coffee safety, first aid kit, flashlight, power bank extras, camera, binoculars, sketch pad, fishing poles. I take a deep breath. Today is the day we gather everything we need for our week in the woods. By 5 a.m., I'm in the kitchen making strong black coffee. The aroma fills the space and I pour 2 mugs, one for me and one for Harper. She joins me in her robe, rubbing her eyes. "Morning," she whispers. "Can't sleep?" I'm too excited, I admit. I want to get an early start on packing. I hand her a mug. Let's do this. We move to the dining table and spread out our camping gear. The table groans under the weight of duffel bags, plastic containers, and random supplies. First, we sort clothing. Harper lays out a pile for each of us. 2 fleece jackets, 3 moisture-wicking shirts, 4 pairs of socks, and enough underwear to last the week. I roll each item tightly and place them in labeled packing cubes. Ethan, Harper, Aiden, and Zoe. Next, we tackle the cooking gear. I unpack the small propane stove and check the fuel canister. It clicks into place. I pack the stove in its metal case, then wrap the lighter and a box of waterproof matches in a plastic bag. Harper fills a durable tote with pots, pans, and utensils. She reminds me, "Don't forget the frying pan for eggs." I nod and tuck it in beside the stove. At 5:45 a.m., the kids stumble into the living room, blinking at the bright lamp. Aiden yawns. "Why are we up so early?" Zoe rubs her eyes. "Can't we sleep in?" I smile. "We have a big morning ahead. Come help us pack." I give each of them a small duffel bag. Pick 2 outfits, a pair of pajamas, and anything special you want, like your sketch pad, Aiden, or your favorite storybook, Zoe. They shuffle over and start choosing clothes. Aiden folds his sketch pad into his bag. Zoe cuddles her stuffed rabbit and places it beside her pajamas. Harper and I exchange a proud look. The kids are part of this adventure from the very start. By 6:15 a.m., we pull out the food supplies. I carry grocery bags to the table, eggs in a carton, a loaf of whole grain, bread, apples, and bananas, 2 boxes of granola bars, and a bag of trail mix. Harper lines up coffee packets and tea bags. We fill a sturdy cooler with ice packs and the eggs and stack the remaining items in reusable bins. I label each bin, breakfast, snacks, dinner, so we can find things easily at camp. At 6:40 a.m., we tackle bedding. We spread all 4 sleeping bags on the living room floor like giant rectangles of color. I fluff each pillow, and Harper folds extra blankets at the foot of each bag. Aiden practices his knot-tying skills on the tent ropes, and Zoe arranges small soft toys inside her bag. Next, we prepare the safety kit. Harper checks the first aid box, bandages, antiseptic wipes, pain relievers, tweezers, and allergy medicine. I test the flashlight and pack 2 extra batteries. We slip a compact power bank into my pocket for charging phones. By 7:10 a.m., the living room looks like a small outdoor store. Gear, food, and clothes everywhere. I walk through the checklist again. Sleeping bags, check. Cooking gear, check. Clothes, check. First aid, check. Fishing poles. I hold one in my hand. Aiden grabs the other. Zoe jumps up and down. Can we bring the fish home if we catch one? She asks. I laugh. If it fits in our cooler, yes. Zoe claps her hands in delight. Harper glances at her watch. We need to load the camper in an hour if we want to leave by 9:00. She sips her coffee and exhales. I'm proud of us. This is the first time we've worked as a team like this. I nod, feeling warm inside. Team adventure, I say. Let's finish up. We spend the next 20 minutes stuffing bins into duffel bags, zipping pockets, and double-checking straps. At 7:45 a.m., the apartment is clear. No stray socks or half-packed boxes left behind. We gather at the door, each wearing a small backpack with water bottles and snacks. I grab the key fob. Ready? Harper smiles and the kids chant, Ready? I unlock the door and we step out into the soft dawn light. The city is still waking. Up, its noise hushed at this hour. We carry our bags down the hallway, our hearts light with anticipation. Today's preparation is more than just gathering supplies. It's the moment we leave our old routine behind and step into something new. As we load the last bag into the camper van, I take a deep breath of the cool morning air. The doors close with a satisfying click, and Harper slips into the driver's seat. I climb in beside her, and the children pile in behind us, chatting about fish and marshmallows and where we'll sleep first. In that moment, nestled in our little home on wheels, I know we are ready. The road stretches ahead, and with it, our chance to breathe, explore, and rediscover the joy of simply being together. Chapter 5: Highway to Stillness. We ease the camper van out of the rental lot just as the sun breaks over the horizon. I slide into the driver's seat, Harper beside me, and our two adventurers, Aiden and Zoe, settle in the back. The engine hums, and I shift into first gear. As we pull onto Crestmont Boulevard, the city still slumbers. Streetlights wink off one by one, and the buildings glow faintly in the dawn. I turn on the radio to soft acoustic music, just loud enough to fill the quiet. Harper unwraps a granola bar and hands me half. I bite into the sweet oats and nuts, savoring how different this feels. Eating breakfast on the road, not rushing to a desk or a school hallway. We merge onto Highway 27. At first, the lanes are broad and traffic is light. A few delivery trucks pass us, but mostly it's single cars heading east. The asphalt stretches straight ahead, framed by sidewalks, telephone poles, and occasional fast food signs. The city slowly fades in the side mirrors. The steel and glass facades give way to low brick buildings, then to smaller houses with neat lawns. I reach for my favorite roadside coffee mug. Harper filled it with hot brew before we left, and take a sip. It's comforting, a small reminder of home even as we leave it behind. The kids chat quietly about their plans. Zoe imagines climbing trees and reading stories under branches, while Aiden speculates on what wildlife we might see. I glance in the rearview mirror and catch their excited faces framed by the window glass. As we pass the city limits sign, "Welcome to Greenfield County," the pavement shifts. The lanes narrow, and the shoulder becomes gravel. The radio station changes to static, so I switch it off, leaving only the soft hiss of tires on pavement. Immediately, the world feels larger. The horizon opens, dotted with rolling hills instead of skyscrapers. Patches of wildflowers edge the road. Yellow daisies, purple thistles, and swallows dart low over the asphalt. "Dad, look!" Zoe points out her window. A family of deer grazes in a grassy field. Their ears flick as we pass, but they barely lift their heads. I slow down, and Harper snaps a quick photo. "Did you see that?" I ask. "Real deer in the wild." Aiden grins. "This is why we came." A few miles on, I turn off Highway 27 onto County Road B, an old two-lane that winds through farmland. The pavement is cracked, and the yellow center line is faded, but that only adds to its charm. We climb a gentle rise, and at the top, all of us fall silent. Before us lies a vast valley of emerald fields, crisscrossed by hedgerows and dotted with red barns. Mist clings to the low spots, slinking through the green like ghostly rivers. The silence is profound. I reach into the cup holder for my mug, but it feels heavy, as if any movement might shatter the stillness. Even the wind outside is hushed. I crack the window a few inches. Immediately, cool air sweeps in, carrying the scent of damp earth and wild mint. I close my eyes and breathe deeply. The city smells of exhaust and concrete. This smells of life. Harper switches on her phone's voice recorder. Chapter 5, she announces softly into the mic. Highway to Stillness. Her voice echoes faintly in the cabin. We left Crestmont before sunrise, traded concrete canyons for open skies, and found silence on a winding road. She stops recording and tucks the phone away. Perfect, she whispers. We roll on, the camper's suspension creaking over potholes and dips. A patch of sun breaks through low clouds, illuminating a stand of pines on a distant ridge. The light flickers on their needles like 1,000 tiny lamps. Can we stop there? Zoe asks, pointing ahead. I ease onto the shoulder and bring the van to a halt. Together, we step onto the warm asphalt. The grass is damp with dew, and tiny droplets cling to our shoes. Harper holds out her hand to Zoe, whose eyes widen as she touches a blade of grass. Aiden crouches and picks up a smooth pebble, marveling at how cold it feels in his palm. I tilt my face toward the sky, closing my eyes to catch the sun on my skin. Listen, I say, and we fall silent. The only sounds are the distant hum of our engine, a lone cricket chirping in tall grass, and the soft whisper of wind through the pines. We stand there for a moment longer, letting the quiet settle around us like a blanket. Then, with a collective breath, we climb back into the van. Inside, the atmosphere is changed. Instead of the tense energy of traffic lights and deadlines, we carry a calm confidence, proof that stillness exists beyond the city's roar. I start the engine and ease back onto the road. The camper sways gently as we accelerate, but my foot is lighter on the gas pedal. We follow County Road B until it merges with Forest Route 14. The pavement turns to gravel, crunching under our wheels. On either side, fir trees rise in silent rows. The road narrows to a single lane, and for stretches we don't see another soul. Shadows fall across the windshield in shifting patterns as branches sway in a breeze we can hear but barely feel. Harper glances at the GPS. Only 10 miles. To the visitor center, she says, tracing the route on the screen. We'll arrive in time for lunch. I nod, watching the road curl ahead of us like a ribbon of opportunity. In the back, Aiden and Zoe lean toward each other, voices low but animated. Through the rear window, I glimpse the world receding further. No more fences, no more rooftops, just tree after tree. Silent sentinels guiding us deeper into the wild. I ease the camper down a gentle hill. At the bottom, A wooden sign appears. Silver Pine Forest. Welcome. Beneath it, carved letters read, "Leave your worries behind." I grin and flick off the headlights. "Here we are," I announce, and Harper beams. The kids press their faces to the windows, eyes wide with wonder. Ahead lies our next chapter. Trails to explore, rivers to discover, and night skies to gaze upon. But for now, we simply savor this moment on the highway to stillness, knowing we've already found something we didn't know we were missing. Chapter 6: Lake Serenity. We roll through the forest gate and follow the narrow dirt road down toward Lake Willowbrook. As the trees part, the water appears, a broad, glassy expanse reflecting the sky. I park the camper on a grassy knoll, its jaw, wheels settling into soft earth. The air here is cool and damp, carrying the scent of pine needles and wildflowers. I open my door and step out, the grass brushing my ankles. Harper follows, stretching her arms overhead like a cat waking from sleep. Behind us, Aiden and Zoe spill from the back of the van, their eyes wide with excitement. "Look how clear it is," Zoe cries, skipping toward the water's edge. The lake is so still, it looks like liquid glass. Distant pines rise on the far shore, their dark green silhouettes mirrored perfectly below. I walk down to meet the kids. Aiden crouches by the shallows, turning over smooth stones in his hand. He holds up a pebble that glints gold when the sun strikes it. "Dad, look at this," he says, and I crouch beside him. "It's beautiful," I agree, feeling the cool water swirl around my fingers. "Let's collect a few to take home." He carefully chooses 3 stones, one for each of us, and tucks them into his pocket. Harper sets down our picnic basket on a flat rock. She removes a soft blanket and spreads it on the grass. Inside the basket are fresh pastries, fruit, and sandwiches wrapped in wax paper. The kids race around gathering sticks for a small fire pit, their laughter echoing off the water. I unpack the portable stove and set it on a flat stone near Harper's blanket. She lights the burner, and the metal pot hisses as water begins to boil. We'll make hot chocolate and heat soup, simple comforts that taste magical outdoors. While the water warms, I wander to the dock. It's weathered wood, its planks worn smooth by decades of boots and bare feet. At the end, I sit and dangle my legs over the edge. The lake ripples gently beneath me, tiny waves lapping the dock's underside. Above, a pair of loons call out, a sigh, haunting melodic sound that seems to come from another world. I lean forward, listening. The loons glide across the surface nearby, their black and white bodies cutting through the water with effortless grace. I take a deep breath. In the city, I never heard such sounds. Here, every noise is alive: birdsong, water lapping, the susurrus of breeze through the branches. Even the smell is sharper: fresh pine, damp earth, a hint of wild mint. Harper joins me on the dock, handing me a mug of steaming hot chocolate topped with marshmallows. I wrap my hands around the warm cup and take a slow sip. The sweetness and warmth spread through me, and I exhale, letting go of tension I didn't know I carried. "Isn't this perfect?" she whispers, resting her head on my shoulder. I nod, sipping again. The sugar and cocoa melt together with the crisp air and calm water. We sit in silence for a moment, watching the children at work. Aiden and Zoe have fashioned a small fairy circle from stones and twigs on the beach. They fill it with moss, pine cones, and wildflowers. Zoe holds up a bright yellow blossom. "For good luck," she explains. I rise and join them, kneeling by their little creation. Together, we place a handful of pebbles inside the circle. I whisper, "May we always remember this moment." The kids grin, proud of our makeshift ceremony. Next, we ready our lunch. Harper pours soup into bowls, and I hand out turkey sandwiches. We sit on the blanket with our legs stretched toward the water. Each bite tastes richer than anything we've eaten this year. The bread is soft, the turkey is savory, and the soup is warm comfort against the slight chill in the air. Halfway through lunch, Aiden spots a fishing rod leaning against the van. "Can we try fishing?" he asks, eyes shining. I nod eagerly. We unpack 2 rods and bait hooks with worms. The kids line up on the dock, casting lines into the clear water. Within minutes, Zoe tugs fiercely on her rod. Her line tightens, and she reels in a small sunfish, its scales flashing silver. I help her cradle the fish gently in her hands. "Beautiful," I say. Zoe giggles, then dips her hand back into the lake and releases the fish. It darts away, leaving ripples behind. She watches until it disappears, then turns to hug me. "Can we keep fishing tomorrow?" she asks. "Absolutely," I promise, smiling. After lunch and fishing, we stroll along the shoreline. The sun has climbed higher, scattering diamonds across the water's surface. We find a shallow inlet carpeted with smooth stones. Perfect for skipping. Aiden shows Zoe how to flick her wrist just right. Together, they practice until their stones bounce 3, 4, 5 times. I try it too and land a 6-skip throw. "Beat that," I challenge, and laughter follows. We circle back to the van for cold drinks and shade under the awning. I pull out my camera and take family photos, Zoe hugging Harper, Aiden holding his skipping stone triumphantly, and the four of us standing hand in hand with the lake behind us. As afternoon turns toward evening, the light softens. I notice the distant hills glow amber. The temperature drops slightly, and we decide to return to camp. We pack up our gear, careful not to leave a trace, and drive a few minutes to our designated campsite by the lake's opposite shore. There, we find a sandy patch perfect for setting up the camper and building our evening fire. Before darkness falls, we stand together on the water's edge and watch as the sun dips slowly behind the trees. The sky shifts from blue to pink to orange, mirrored on the lake's surface. A gentle breeze carries the scent of pine and smoke from our fire pit as we light our first evening wood smoke. I look at my family and feel a profound sense of gratitude. Lake Serenity isn't just a place. It's a balm for our busy minds and tired hearts. Here, surrounded by water, trees, and each other, we've discovered a stillness deeper than any city night. Tonight, we will sleep under canvas and stars. Tomorrow, we will wake to birdsong and lake mist. But for now, I cup my hands around a mug of tea, breathe in the pine-scented air, and whisper, "Thank you, Lake Willowbrook, for bringing us here." Chapter 7. Dusk by the Fire. The sun slips below the tree line faster than I expected, leaving behind a glow of amber and rose. We've finished unpacking our camp chairs and clearing a space for the fire pit, and now the four of us gather kindling from nearby pines. Harper arranges small sticks in a neat teepee shape while I strike a match. The flame catches at the tinder, a handful of dry leaves and cedar bark, and suddenly a small fire crackles to life. The children settle onto their chairs, blankets wrapped around their shoulders against the cooling air. Aiden pulls his knees close, and Zoe tucks her feet beneath her. I sit on a log across from them, Harper beside me. The heat from the flames laps at our faces, and the shadows dance on our skin. I lean forward and toss a medium branch onto the fire. The wood hisses as the resin ignites, sending a bright flare into the dusky sky. The scent of pine smoke mingles with the crisp evening air. Above, the first stars begin to shine, tiny pinpricks of light scattered across the deepening blue. Harper hands me a metal pot filled with hot spiced cider. I pour it into 4 mugs and pass them around. The cider steams in the cool air. Its cinnamon and clove sweetness is comforting. We each wrap our hands around the warm mug, sipping slowly. "Listen," Harper whispers, and we lean in. The only sounds are the crackle of flames, the occasional snap of a shifting branch, and a distant woodpecker tapping on a tree trunk. No cars, no neighbors, no hum of electricity, just the call of the wild settling into night. Zoe quirks an eyebrow. It's so quiet. It's almost loud. She giggles softly. Aiden nods. I can hear my own breathing. He takes another sip of cider, eyes reflecting the firelight. I never noticed how nice silence can be. I smile and set my mug aside. Silence is a gift out here. It gives us space to think. I brush my hand through Zoe's hair. What are you thinking about right now? She gazes into the flames. That we should do this more often. In our yard or the park, something to remember tonight. She looks up at me, earnest. Because tonight feels special. Harper reaches for my hand. It is. This is exactly what we needed. She glances at the fire and then back to the children. Family time, away from screens and schedules. Her voice cracks slightly, but she hides her smile behind a sip of cider. The flames flare higher, throwing sparks that drift upward like fireflies. I grab my camera from the ground beside me and snap a few photos. Harper's profile outlined in orange light, Zoe's eyes wide, Aiden's thoughtful expression. I tuck the camera away, content to let the moment live in memory more than on a screen. The kids grow restless as the fire settles into steady embers. I stand and retrieve a long skewer from our gear. I peel a handful of marshmallows from their bag and hand one to each of them. Time for marshmallow roasting, I announce. Zoe squeals and thrusts her skewer into the fire. Within seconds, a marshmallow puffs and browns. She pulls it back, cheeks flushed, and takes a cautious bite. Her eyes close in delight. Perfect, she declares. Aiden roasts two at once, holding them just above the embers so they melt slowly. Soft, he pronounces wisely, just how I like it. Harper and I take turns too, roasting golden pillows of sugar and then sandwiching them between graham crackers. We taste a s'more together, chocolate oozing, and laugh when a drip lands on my sleeve. Night deepens. The sky is now a canvas of stars, and I point out constellations. The Big Dipper hanging low in the north, Orion's belt shimmering in the south. Zoe stretches her neck to catch them, and Aiden leans against Harper, sleepy but mesmerized. I saw a shooting star, Zoe whispers, bouncing in her chair. Did you see it? I nod, recalling the thin streak of light. Made a wish? Harper teases. Zoe nods, eyes dancing. I wished we could stay here forever. Harper glances at me and I feel a lump in my throat. Me too, I admit, voice low. The fire dwindles into glowing embers. I scoop a handful of stones from nearby and toss them into the center. Our bedtime ritual is simple. Rake the coals flat, let them cool, and then stoke them again for a final warmth before we retreat to the camper. I rise and stretch, muscles, loosening after a day of hiking and laughter. The children climb onto my lap, settling in for a story. "Tell us about the first time you camped," Zoe demands. I smile at Harper, who nods encouragement. "All right," I say. "Once, when I was around Zoe's age, my dad took me to Pine Hollow Lake. We built a fire just like this." I recount the tale, how I tried to catch fireflies in a jar, how I got so cold I shivered all night, and how my father taught me to appreciate every flicker of light, every crackle of wood. Harper and I trade glances as the kids listen, wide-eyed, and I realize this story is as much for me as it is for them, a reminder of how the wild shaped me. When the tale ends, Zoe yawns, and Aiden's eyelids droop. I tuck them both into their sleeping bags on the blanket beside the fire. Harper helps me zip Zoe in, and I smooth Aiden's hair. "Good night, explorers," I say, kissing their foreheads. They murmur sleepily, smiling. Harper stands and casts one last log onto the embers. The fire sparks and hisses. "Let's let it burn down," she suggests gently. We huddle together on our chairs, sharing the final warmth. The night air is crisp, and I wrap an arm around her shoulders. "Thank you," I whisper, "for making this happen." She leans in. "Thank you for saying yes." We sit in silence, watching the coals glow and fade, the stars wheel overhead. In the hush, I feel the weight of the world lift away. Here, in the glow of our campfire, under the vast night sky, we are home. If only for a moment, if only for this chapter of our story. Chapter 8. Dawn. Chorus. I wake to a gentle tinkling sound, like tiny bells ringing in the distance. For a moment, I'm not sure where I am, until I remember the canvas walls of our camper and the woodsy shadow patterns dancing across the ceiling. I sit up, careful not to disturb Harper or the children, and unzip the window flap. Outside, the world is draped in soft gray-blue light. Mist floats above the lake in thin ribbons, swirling quietly around the pines. And everywhere, birds are singing. It begins with a lone warbler, its bright, springy trill echoing across the water. Then other voices join in, the low coo of doves, the scratchy chatter of chickadees, the sweet whistle of a thrush hidden deep in the underbrush. I pause to breathe it in, the melody of the forest at daybreak. In the city, morning started with alarms and car horns. Here, they begin with music. I tiptoe out of the camper, pulling on my fleece and slipping into my boots. The chill air greets me like an old friend, carrying the scent of damp earth and pine resin. Harper stirs inside as I carefully zip the door behind me. "Ethan," she whispers. I motion for her to follow. She slips out in her slippers, yawning with delight when she hears the birds. "It's incredible," she breathes. Together, we walk down the narrow path that leads from our campsite to the lake. The grass is wet with dew, sparkling like scattered diamonds under the pale light. Each step is soft, muffled by moss and fallen needles. Overhead, the treetops sway gently, and more bird calls join the chorus. A bright staccato burst from a woodpecker, a hushed cheerio from a robin. We reach the water's edge and pause on a flat rock. The lake is a mirror, reflecting the trees and sky with perfect clarity. Mist drifts across the surface, curling around fallen logs half submerged in the shallows. As the sun's first rays touch the treetops, the mist glows gold, and the birds shift their tune to a hush, soft, elongated notes that feel like a blessing for the day ahead. Harper pulls her camera from her jacket and snaps a photo, careful to keep the shutter noise to a minimum. I lean against her shoulder, the warmth of her body grounding me in this moment. "I never knew mornings could feel like this," she says softly. I smile and nod. "It's the dawn chorus," I reply. "Nature's way of waking up." I point toward a large cedar where a flock of finches has gathered. They hop from branch to branch, calling to each other in rapid, cheerful bursts. In the distance, I hear a soft plop. I turn to see Aiden and Zoe at the old dock, standing barefoot at the edge, watching something in the water. I walk toward them, and they greet me with sleepy grins. "Dad, come look," Aiden whispers. I crouch beside them and see that the surface is alive with orange flashes, tiny fish darting in and out of the reeds. Zoe extends her hand just above the water, and a curious minnow swims close, its scales glinting silver. She giggles softly when it brushes her fingers. I ruffle Aiden's hair. "Fish wake up early, I guess." He nods, eyes shining. "Everything wakes up early here," he says. I stand and dust off my jeans. "Come on," I urge. "Let's collect some water for coffee." We fetch our metal mug and fill it straight from the lake. The water is icy cold, startling us as we lift it. I hand the mug to Zoe first, and she takes a cautious sip, then beams. Back at camp, Harper has already stoked the small stove. I set the mug on the burner and pour in the lake water. As it begins to simmer, I mix in coffee grounds, inhaling the rich aroma that contrasts with the fresh outdoor air. We pour into our mugs, then sip quietly, listening to the dawn chorus swell into jubilant harmony. A soft rustle from the campground behind us signals that the kids are awake. Harper peeks around the camper door and waves for them to come over. Zoe toddles barefoot and wrapped in a blanket, while Aiden preens his fishing pole like a prized trophy. We sit together on the blanket, sipping coffee and hot chocolate as the sun lifts higher. Golden light filters through the trees, spotlighting mist-kissed spider webs and illuminating wildflowers at our feet. Butterflies flit from blossom to blossom, adding their own gentle dance to the morning spectacle. I lean back on my elbows, gazing at each family member in turn. Harper, hair tousled by sleep. Aiden, with a sketch pad poised for drawing this perfect moment. Zoe, caressing her rabbit plush as if it, too, needs to witness the dawn. My chest tightens with gratitude. When we get back home, I say softly, we'll remember this every time we hear birdsong. Harper reaches for my hand. We'll have our own dawn chorus, she agrees. The children finish their drinks and clamor to explore a nearby trail that winds along the shoreline. We pack the mugs away and join them, stepping carefully over roots and stones. The path curves through a grove of birches whose white bark glows in the morning light. Tiny ferns unfurl beside the trail, and the undergrowth trembles as small mammals, chipmunks and squirrels, dart away from our footsteps. We follow the trail until it loops, back near the lake, ending at a small waterfall where water tumbles over mossy rocks into a crystal pool. The sound here is different from the dawn chorus, a gentle roar, constant and comforting. We linger, listening to water's music blending with distant bird song. Without words, we each inhale the scene, letting the pure, fresh energy of morning fill us. I lift my face to the sun, closing my eyes and opening my senses to all around. When I open them again, I see the world as it should be, alive, vibrant, and full of promise. Together we walk back to our camper, our steps lighter and our spirits renewed. Chapter 8 of our story, Dawn Chorus, has gifted us a reminder that beginnings can be beautiful, that each day holds its own wonder, and that sometimes all you need is to listen. Chapter 9. The Hidden Falls. We break camp after breakfast, the scent of toasted bread and sizzling bacon still clinging to the air. I pack the cooler back into its bin and Harper zips up the laundry bag. Aiden and Zoe trail behind us, their bare feet cool on the damp grass as they chase fireflies that linger in the morning light. Where to next? Harper asks, unfolding our trail map. I point to a faint dotted line leading deeper into Silver Pine's NE quadrant. The Hidden Falls Trail. It's supposed to be off the beaten path, Only a handful of hikers find it each year. The kids' eyes widen. A secret waterfall? Zoe breathes. Like a treasure hunt. We load into the camper and follow the gravel road east, wheels crunching over loose stones. After a mile, we pull off at a small parking knoll, flanked by towering pines draped in moss. A narrow footpath disappears into the undergrowth. I switch off the engine and we climb out, stretching our legs. The forest here is older, darker. Ferns blanket the ground, and sunlight filters through high branches. I shoulder my day pack and lead the way. The trail isn't marked with signs, only by flattened grass and occasional arrow carvings on young saplings. We follow a shallow creek, the water gurgling over smooth stones. Aiden holds my hand, and Zoe skips ahead, discovering tiny toadstools at every turn. After 10 minutes, Harper whispers, "Listen." The creek's babble grows louder, but beneath it runs another sound, a steady roar. We quicken our pace, hearts pounding with excitement and a little uncertainty. The path steepens, and I help Zoe over a fallen log. Aiden points to a cluster of bright green moss on a rock. "This looks magical," he says. I squeeze his shoulder, smiling. At last, the trees part, and we step onto a rocky ledge overlooking a narrow gorge. Water plunges 30 feet down dark slate into a jade-green plunge pool. Mist sprays our faces in fine droplets that sparkle in the shafts of morning light. The hidden falls reveal themselves slowly, first by sound, then by sight. And when we see them, we all gasp. Zoe runs to the edge and leans over, giggling as the cool mist coats her cheeks. "It's like fairy dust," she cries. Aiden bravely inches closer, peering into the swirling pool below. The roar of the water fills our ears, but it's not frightening, more thrilling, powerful, alive. I set down my day pack and undo the camcorder. "Let's capture this," I say, panning across the falls. Harper presses record, then steps into the frame. "Welcome to Chapter 9, she says, voice echoing against the rocks. "The hidden falls, our secret reward for daring to explore." We find a safe spot on a flat boulder near the water's edge. I hand a small snack to the kids, granola bars and apple slices, and we sit together, watching the waterfall dance. The sunlight catches droplets in midair, turning them to tiny rainbows. The air tastes of fresh pine and cold spray. After a few minutes, Aiden asks, "Can we swim?" I glance at the pool. The water is deep and clear, and smooth stones line the bottom. "Yes," I say, "but only up to your waists. Stay close to the edge, and no diving." The kids cheer and clamber down the slippery stones into the shallow margin. Zoe squeals as the water laps her ankles. Aiden wades in up to his knees. I follow, the shock of cold water making me gasp. But that gasp turns into laughter when the chill slides away, leaving me exhilarated. Harper stands beside me, her boots half submerged. She smiles wide, hair damp from the mist. "This is perfect," she shouts over the roar, then laughs as another plume of spray hits her face. We spend the next 20 minutes exploring the pool's edge. Aiden twists a stick to scoop out smooth pebbles, dropping them thoughtfully into his pocket. Zoe bends to examine water beetles clinging to rocks. I tread water near them, telling stories of mountain streams and river gods, watching their eyes light up with wonder. When the chill returns, we clamber out onto a flat rock warmed by the sun. Harper wraps a towel around Zoe, and I drape my jacket over Aiden's shoulders. We snack on the last of our sandwiches, sharing each bite as we take in the waterfall's steady pulse. "I wish we could stay here all day," Zoe says, nibbling an apple slice. I nod, pulling my jacket tighter. "Maybe just an hour more?" I suggest. Everyone agrees. We settle back, and I close my eyes, breathing in the roar of water and the scent of wet stone. Harper finds a smooth, flat rock and sits cross-legged. "I'm going to meditate," she announces, her voice calm. "Try to match the rhythm of the falls with your breathing." I try it too. Inhale as the water crashes down. Exhale as the mist drifts across my face. The kids mimic us, giggling. At first, then growing quiet as they settle into the rhythm. Time slips away until our stomachs rumble, reminding us of lunch. We pack our gear, careful to leave no trace. Snack wrappers and water bottles go back into our bag. I fill our water bottles at a small spring bubbling out of the gorge wall, and we toast to hidden falls before starting the hike back. On the return trail, the waterfall's roar recedes, replaced by bird calls and the squish of damp earth. Zoe skips ahead, announcing each new blossom she sees. Aiden sketches a quick map of our route in his notebook. Harper and I walk hand in hand, sharing quiet smiles. We emerge from the forest into the clearing where we parked. The camper van sits waiting, bathed in mid-afternoon light. As we climb in, damp hair and muddy boots, I look at my family, grinning, rosy-cheeked, eyes shining. And I know this is a chapter we'll remember forever. The hidden falls weren't on any tourist brochure, but we found them by choosing to wander off the main road. In that hidden gorge, we discovered more than a waterfall. We rediscovered our sense of awe, our willingness to explore, and the joy of sharing small wonders with the people we love. Chapter 10. Home Reimagined. The road back to Crestmont City feels different now. As we climb into the camper van at sunrise, the forest behind us glows with early light. I glance in the rearview mirror at the treetops receding into mist, and I realize that this trip has already changed us more than I expected. We drive in companionable silence. Harper wraps her arm around my shoulder, and I let her. In the back, Aiden sketches in his notebook. Trees, waterfalls, the shape of our little home on wheels. Zoe hums a tune she made up at dawn, inspired by the bird song. Every so often, she pauses to press her nose against the window and watch for deer. At the county line sign, I pull over. We all climb out, stretching legs and arms. The scent of pine still lingers in the air, and the sun's warmth on our skin is a gentle reminder of what we've left behind, just for a moment. We stand together, shoulder to shoulder, and I say, "This forest will always be here. We can come back any time." Harper takes a deep breath. But it doesn't have to. And when we leave, we can bring some of this home with us. She gestures toward the dense trees and the quiet creek beyond. The calm, the togetherness, the curiosity. I nod. Home doesn't have to be this gray apartment anymore. We can make our real home feel more like this, full of life and space. The kids grin. Zoe bounces in place. "Can we plant a tree in our yard?" she asks. Aiden chimes in. "And maybe build a birdhouse by the window?" "Absolutely, I promise. We'll plant a pine tree, just like the ones here, and build a bird feeder too." We pack back into the van and continue our journey. The highway. Traffic grows heavier and the city skyline appears again. Steel beams and concrete blocks marching toward the sky. But it greets us differently this time. The honking horns feel less jarring, and the stale air of exhaust is softened by the memory of fresh forests. As we pull into our neighborhood, I notice small details I'd never appreciated before. The songbirds perched on the telephone wires, the early morning light striking through a neighbor's maple tree, the quiet rhythm of children walking to school. I point them out to Harper. She smiles, nodding. We park outside our apartment and carry our bags inside. For a moment, I fear the gray walls will swallow us back into old habits. But then Zoe runs to the window and opens the curtains wide. Sunlight floods into the living room, brightening every corner. Aiden places a smooth pebble from Lake Willowbrook on the coffee table, where our family photos now surround it. Harper unrolls our camping blanket on the sofa. "Let's eat lunch here today," she suggests. "Picnic style." We gather around on the floor with sandwiches and fruit, setting the mood with acoustic music playing softly on the speaker. As we eat, I point out houseplants we'll get to bring the forest indoors. Ferns, spider plants, and a small pine sapling for our patio. After lunch, we unbox the Polaroid camera and print our favorite shots from the trip. Our family huddled by the fire, sunbeams filtering through the trees, Zoe's amazed face at the falls. We tape them to the living room wall in a grid, like a window into our adventure. The afternoon unfolds into simple pleasures. Aiden and I assemble a birdhouse kit purchased last weekend. He drills the entrance hole. I hold the wood steady. We talk about the birds he hopes will visit. Robins, chickadees, maybe even a blue jay. Zoe paints small seashells we collected at the creek, planning to use them as garden markers. Harper tends to the new houseplants on the balcony, arranging them in neat pots and hanging a bird feeder outside the railing. As dusk approaches, we light a single lantern on the balcony. Instead of a roaring fire, we have the soft glow of a candle inside a glass jar. We bring out mugs of hot chocolate and marshmallows, toasting them carefully over the candle flame. The city skyline twinkles in the distance, but our balcony feels like a cozy alcove in the wilderness. I lean back on a folding chair and watch our family in this transformed space. The gentle hum of traffic in the background no longer feels oppressive. It blends with the soft chirping of crickets and the rustle of leaves in the night breeze. Zoe presses her cheek against my arm. "I love our new home," she says. Harper squeezes my hand. "We did it," she whispers. "We brought the forest home." Later, after the children are tucked into bed, Harper and I stand at the window looking out at the city lights. We carry a small planter with the pine sapling between us. I set it on the sill, and Harper places her hand on the young trunk. "May it grow as strong as our memories," she says. I wrap my arm around her waist. "And may we remember that home can be wherever we choose to make it, full of adventure, wonder, and peace." We turn off the lights and step away, leaving the sapling bathed in moonlight. The echoes of our journey, the crackle of campfires, the song of loons, the rush of hidden falls, linger in our hearts and in the walls of our apartment. As we close the door to our bedroom, I know that the story doesn't end here. It's just the next chapter, Home Reimagined. Great work today. Every moment you spend practicing brings you closer to mastering your English listening and speaking skills. Remember, progress comes with patience and consistency. If this story inspired you or helped you in your learning journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Easy English Spark channel for more lessons and stories. Keep listening, keep speaking, and keep believing in your growth. I'll see you in the next video. Take care and keep shining.